attraction is irresistible.
Now use Hot Button bonus and get an 05 Silverado Z71 for around $299 a month with Smart Buy financing. Residency restrictions apply. Call for details.
Beautiful day in New York City. Going to be a great evening as well. Yankees, Mariners. Yankees have taken the field. Chien-Ming Wang taking his warm-ups. And we take a look at the Seattle Mariners starting lineup presented by Ricoh. Ichiro Suzuki, the right fielder, leads off. Randy Winn in left field will bat second. Batting third and playing third base, had a home run last night, Adrian Beltre. The middle of the Mariner lineup, Sexton, Ibanez, and Boone. And then the bottom third, Jeremy Reed in center. Miguel Olivo will catch. He has good numbers against the Yankees lifetime, batting eighth. And batting ninth, the shortstop, Wilson Valdez.
Third start for Chien-Ming Wang. Second here at the stadium, looking for his first win. And you see the numbers. Not a power pitcher. And let's take a look at the Jeep scouting report. He has a sneaky fastball, and what that means is when you'll see his motion is very, very easy, but he's got a lot more on the fastball than hitters might expect. Very poised, and he is the #1 pitching prospect in the Yankees organization. That's why they called him up when Jarrett Wright was injured.
Ichiro is ready, and Wang deals. We're underway. The pitch is low, 1-0. New York Yankees baseball on Yes is presented in high definition where available. Again inside, the count 2-0. Real international flavor to this matchup. Ichiro from Japan. Chien-Ming Wang from Taiwan. There's a ground ball past the diving Tino Martinez and down the right field line. Ichiro makes the turn. He'll go to second, thinking about three. He's going to take three. The throw is not nearly in time. It is a stand-up triple for Ichiro Suzuki to start the game off.
Boy, this guy is something. I mean, Tino has no chance to get this. A nice effort, but what's so impressive here, I think, is where Ichiro doesn't need a coach. He knows exactly where the ball is. You'll see him look over his shoulder. He makes it to third standing up. Right here, he's going to take a peek. He said, I got third easy.
There's Randy Winn. Yankees have the infield back, of course. And that'll score a run. Jeter to Martinez. Randy Winn is out 6-3, but Ichiro scores, and the Mariners lead 1-0. New York Yankees baseball is broadcast in Spanish. It's available by hitting the SAP button on your television, and SAP is brought to you by Toyota with 17 models moving you forward. So that's a ribby for Randy Winn. Did the right thing, just put the ball in play with the infield back. So it's 1-0 Seattle. Here's Adrian Beltre. Had a good road trip through Boston in the first game in New York. 4-game hitting streak, 6 for 15. Pitch is low.
Going back to Ichiro, you get a little spoiled coming out to Yankee Stadium every day, or any big league ballpark, really, and being able to watch games. But even if I were not involved in Major League Baseball, knowing what I know about Ichiro, I would go out of my way to watch him play. I mean, he's one of those guys you say, I'd pay to watch him. He can do so many things.
Well, he's very exciting. You saw the speed that he has, but also defensively. Covers a lot of ground. He has one of the best arms in the game. He's a very exciting player.
1-1 from Wang. 2-1.
You know, if I'm Seattle, I'm thinking we have a rookie out here. You know, and we have a pretty good offense. We have not gotten on track, but at some point you expect them to turn it around. And I guarantee you before this game, they were talking about really trying to put it on this young kid.
Ground ball is short. Charging Jeter. 2 away. Imagine it was a beautiful day in New York City. Equally nice night. Take a look at the weather. 58 degrees. Humidity 65%. Not much wind. Currently fair, although I would disagree. I think it's wonderful. And the forecast is for cloudy.
That must be tomorrow, cloudy. It's not. I don't see any clouds. No cumulus, nimbus.
Nothing.
No stratus.
Hits the Sexton is outside.
Well, you got to remember, New York's a big city.
Yeah,
maybe cloudy
somewhere. Okay. There's a couple of them there.
Sexton with a big swing. Count 1-1.
We've always said there's been a saying in the dugout for years when you look at a guy in the batter's box and say he looks hitterish. It means he just looks like he can hit. And when you look at Richie Sexton, he just, he has one of the, he reminds me a little of Dale Murphy, who was a former MVP that played for Joe in Atlanta. Tall, rangy.
Along with Mattingly, that was one of his idols.
Yeah.
Dale Murphy. And the 1-2. Count 2-2. Yankees have won 3 in a row. The latest they've done that in a season since 1925.
Knows what he wants. Jin-Ming Wang, he's shaking Flaherty off about 4 times.
The 2-2. And the count full at 3-2. Flaherty gets to start tonight because the Yankees always rest Posada day game after night game. So what they did, because Flaherty has good numbers against Aaron Seeley, he'll start tonight, and that means that Posada could start tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon is a day game, by the way. Mark that in your mental calendar. It starts at 1 here at Yankee Stadium. 3-2. Missed away, so Sexton walks with 2 outs.
Like David said, if you're in that Seattle clubhouse and part of that lineup, you say, here's a rookie. We're going to challenge him, make him throw strikes. The impressive thing, if you look at Don Baylor, one of the great all-around ball players, a former MVP. The impressive thing about looking at Jin-Ming Wang, and David, I've always thought good hitters like John Olerud, they're very, very quiet, not a lot of head movement, and that's the same thing with Wang. He's very, very focused on the catcher's target. There's not a lot of wasted movement in that pitching motion.
Pitch to Ibanez is low.
But when you face a young kid, in your first at bat, you hope that you can see every one of his pitches.
Yep.
You don't want to get up there and have to hit a pitch, and then now in your second at bat, you got to worry about what his curveball is like, his changeup is like. So for him, I'd like to see him get around the whole lineup one time without really showing all of his weapons. That'll make him more effective the second time around.
Boy, that is such a good point. I know in coaching back in the mid-'80s with pitchers like Tommy Browning, I'd say that first time through the batting order, see how many fastballs you can get by with and how many first pitch strikes. You might give up a couple hits or a run, but don't show them don't empty the vault the first time around.
1-1. Upstairs, 2-1.
His arm angle is somewhat different tonight, and I don't know if he's like forcing the ball to move, but his first start, he was a little more on top, and it just looked like the ball was coming out of his hand a little easier. So far tonight, it looks like he's forcing, and that's understandable. He's probably gripping it a little tighter, a little more tension.
And also, Jim, because he's a young pitcher, he's still really learning himself as well. As you see his delivery here, as Jim was saying, for young pitchers, the consistency there is not the same as like a veteran pitcher. So he's still trying to find his consistent release point as well.
3-1. High fly ball, deep center field. Matsui back, still back, and on the warning track, he makes the play in the deepest part of the ballpark. When you hear about the meetings that Joe Torre and Cashman had with the struggling Jason Giambi, you always wish you could be a fly on the wall. So Kim Jones buzzed into Brian Cashman and asked him exactly what went on. So let's listen in.
No, unfortunately, we had what I would call a routine meeting, with a player. This today was Giambi that is currently struggling. It's one of those checking your temperature type meetings, how you're doing, how you feeling, how's your work going type meetings. But for some reason, it seems to take on. Typically, I don't have to talk about those meetings and how it went, but that's what we just had. Anybody have any questions?
Was there a resolution, Brian?
I mean, we're the purpose of which you have these things is to make sure that you explore every avenue to try to get somebody going. And Joe and I just sat down with Jason to discuss, a lot of different things, of which I don't want to really, speak to. But that was the purpose of the meeting. He's struggling. He knows he's struggling. We're obviously all working for the same goal, is to get him going in the, obviously the positive direction for us and for himself. And that was really it. We sat down and talked for quite some time, and the work continues, and believe me, every avenue that we can explore, we'll explore. But that was really the sum and substance of the meeting.
Not exactly any revelations coming out of that, but the fact that Jason Giambi wanted to talk to Joe and Brian wanted to talk, and Joe did too, to Jason, both on the same day, well, maybe they needed to sound it out. Maybe that's what was the best thing that came out of the meeting.
But that also tells me that if Jason Giambi started that meeting, that tells me that his confidence is way down. And he wants to tell them that maybe I do need a break. Let's explore a conversation in terms of what we can do. But definitely I need a break. My confidence is shot, and I don't really want to be out there right now.
There were two columns in the New York papers today, one in the Post and one in the News, saying, is this one of the worst contracts in sports history? When you wake up and you're Jason Giambi and you read that, your confidence cannot be too high.
Well, it can become, overwhelming. Especially, you're playing in New York, where everything is magnified, and you're a player that had a lot of eyes on you coming into spring training, and then to have a start like this, it's only going to compound itself, and it's very tough for an individual to deal with it. He needs a very strong support system, and I'm sure he's relying on a lot of family right now and his teammates, because that's what you need in times like this.
Boone started the inning off by grounding back to Wong. Jeremy Reed just walked. So runner on first base with one out. Top of the second. Mariners 1, Yankees nothing. Here's Miguel Olivo.
Let that 139 fool you. This guy likes to hit in Yankee Stadium. Came in here as a backup catcher with the White Sox. I think it was like a September call-up, and put on quite a show. First major league home run.
Mariners 6 games under 500, but they're 10-12 when Olivo starts.
See another base on balls by Chien-Ming Wang in that little conversation Mel had him with at the end of the dugout that Mel had with him. You could sort of read his body language that he was telling Wang to extend the arm to finish off your pitches toward the catcher. He's kind of cutting his arm off right now. He's throwing 16 balls and only 10 strikes. In other words, it's throw the ball not to the catcher, but through the catcher. Just like you were going to bounce it, not throw it through the backstop back there. And that might be what John Flaherty is going to try to communicate with him. Back to the Giambi thing, is you mentioned the contract, and of course Jason's confession of the steroid issue and the fact that he's struggling right now. But I know from a pitcher standpoint, you got to start making some adjustments, whether it's choking up on the bat or moving off the plate or front, or you got to make some physical adjustments too, because the pitchers know right now he's not the same hitter he was a couple years ago, and they're pitching him the same way time after time.
Popped up right side. Martinez and Cano run out of room. One thing that Jason has going for him is that he's generally well-liked by the media, by his teammates, so he's not feeling heat in that way. The media can't ignore the start that he's had, nor the problems that he's had off the field. But I don't think they're hammering the way they would hammer somebody that they don't like. That isn't excessive.
And, he is one of the best guys in the game. When you take a poll around the league, and they'll tell you he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And that's why so many people, feel so bad for him, and so many people are rooting for him and want him to turn it around.
Yeah, he's the poster boy for the guy that kind of took a hit for coming out and saying that one of the problems they he's had in the past, and now with the testing taking its toll on him is the steroid issue. And, he was the first and foremost to do that, and he's paying the price for it. There's some other guys that baseball knows full well around the league that are kind of hiding behind that. They don't have to go through what Jason's going through. There's the good sneaky fastball of Chien-Ming Wang, and a nice job by Flaherty on the receiving end, framing it.
Reed leads off first, held there by Tino. The 2-2. Grounded foul. Mariners got a run in the first inning. Ichiro started the game with a triple down the right field line, scored on Randy Wynn's ground out. That's where we are right now, 1-0 Seattle, top of the second. Chien-Ming Wang against Aaron Seeley. Swing and foul tipped. Just stays alive.
You see the previous two pitches were two fastballs inside. Now he potentially maybe having Oliva looking inside. He went with the slider, and he just got a little piece of it.
Goes. Swing and a miss. The throw to second is knocked out of Cano's glove. Now, Olivo's still standing up there. Looked like he swung, but the first base umpire, Bill Welke, said no. So that's a stolen base for Reed, and the count goes to 3-2 on Olivo. Please.
That's a pretty quick move. A little self-defense to get out of the way.
That's a 15-day deal waiting to happen. That type of move.
See, Robinson Cano never really in good position there at second base. He never got to the bag.
Broken back ground ball to Jeter. Fires to first. Nice stretch by Tino as Reed will move to third.
I see Derek Jeter make that play, the shattered bat, and I think of what David said in the open about Tino Martinez could hit a fastball in his sleep, and it seems like Derek can make this play in his sleep. I mean, this is not really a routine play for a shortstop, but Derek, from the time he's come up, has sure made it look routine.
So runner on third now with 2 outs. Here's Wilson Valdez, the number 9 batter in the lineup. And there's a strike from Wang. Line drive, base hit over the leaping try of Jeter into left field. That will score Reed. It's an RBI single for Valdez, and the Mariners lead 2-0.
What bonus for the Mariners. They know this guy can field, but he's been productive at the bottom of the lineup. That's what did Chien-Ming Wang in Tampa Bay. A few too many pitches in the middle of the plate.
Ichiro will come up to the plate. Let's take a look at the hitter's scouting report presented by Bacardi.
Dion was right. I'll amplify that in a minute. He's smart, fast, and disruptive, and he can hit to the situation. What we saw last night. Calls for a base hit. He can like flick it into left field, or he can pull with some power. Dion is Dion James, who played for the Yankees in the early and mid-90s and had played in Japan. And I asked him because at that time Nomo had come over here as a pitcher.
Nice diving stop by Jeter against the force at second. Takes a base hit away from Ichiro. And we will find out what Dion said in just a moment as we watch what Jeter just did. And taking a base hit away from Ichiro. 669 people at Yankee Stadium. In Game 4, Lou Gehrig got a home run off Hubble to help win the game, and the Yankees eventually won the series. And to read more on the 1936 championship team, log on to yesnetwork.com and click on the Champion Moments link. 4 games to 2. Yankees out-hit him, outscored him, out-homered him, and out-pitched him. That was a Subway series. But you didn't have to take the subway. All you had to do was just walk across the Coombs Dam Bridge to the Polo Grounds. Coors Light scoreboard here in the top of the third. 2-2, Mariners-Yankees. Randy Wynn leads off against Chien-Ming Wang. So the Yankees have gotten him those runs back.
Boy, how much fun that had to be for fans here when they had 3 teams. You know, in fact, in recent years, they've talked about, you know, what can you do to level the playing field? And, you know, that's one thing you could do here in New York, is have about 4 teams.
Ground ball to Cano. 1 away.
Notice most of the balls off Chien-Ming Wang. You see there's a ground ball. If he, with that late movement, he can keep guys from driving the ball. Just the opposite of his mound opponent. Aaron Seeley does not have a lot of movement, but that's one thing about Wang with that sneaky fastball. It's got some late movement. It gives you the ability to take it off the fat of the bat.
Here's Adrian Beltre. And pitch is low. Mariners went deep into their pockets to bolster their offense, signing Beltre and Sexton over the winter. Beltre got a 6-year, $65 million deal. They turned down a 7-year, $90 million deal from the Tigers. He's with the Dodgers his entire career. Had his breakout season last year and cashed in.
That's quite a gamble for a guy who has had the one big year. I think back to Andy McPhail, who's now the president of the Cubs and was the president of the Minnesota Twins. And when it came time to giving big contracts to guys like Kirby Puckett, he said, in my eyes, a guy has to just about be a surefire Hall of Famer to give, you know, which Kirby was. And he was led him to a couple championships, but boy, to extend to a player, first of all, you're putting an awful lot of pressure on the player because he's only had one good year.
And he's always been hurt. Last year he finally stayed healthy, and a great time to stay healthy your free agent year.
But you know, he had been in the National League for a long time, so he had got grown accustomed to all the pitchers. You know, he knew the league very well. Now he's switched leagues. There's going to be an adjustment for him.
2-2. Check the swing. Did he go? Yes, he did. Beltre down on strikes.
And again, that's the late movement. And Flaherty immediately points to the first base umpire, and home plate umpire Gary Cederstrom didn't need any help on that one.
Richie Sexton, big healthy cut, 0-1. Another one, 0-2.
So Richie Sexton, another big-time free agent. You know, they signed both these guys to come over here to provide some offense. Because, you know, with the pitching staff that they have, this is not a pitching staff. These starters, they're not the type of guys that are going to throw one nothing ball games. You know, you're going to score against them. So they need some power. They need guys that can hit the ball at the ballpark and score some runs. So you go out and you sign Richie Sexton, who can hit you 40, 45 home runs. And then you go get Adrian Beltre, who had 48 home runs. And you hope that they provide, along with Raul Ibanez, another run producer, and Brett Boone, you hope with those 4 guys, collectively, you know, they can score enough runs for you to help this pitching staff.
And over the years, the Mariners have just lost offense. Ken Griffey, Alex Rodriguez,
Edgar Martinez
retired.
John
John Olerud.
But, you know, at least they're trying. You know, at least they went out and you know, they're trying to make themselves a better team. But you have two guys that are coming over from the National League. And I always say, when you switch leagues, you know, there is somewhat of an adjustment period. You know, you need to learn, you know, new pitchers. You need to learn, you know, they're going to pitch you different. You're not used to facing them. And sometimes it's just an adjustment. Some guys adjust a lot quicker than others, though.
3-2. Fouled away. And the Mariners also realize they have a gold mine working at Safeco Field. It's a great ballpark, and it's filled most of the time. The team is loved by everybody in Seattle, so they put some of that money back into the team. Three-two. Upstairs, so Sexton works a walk. That's the third walk issued by Wong.
Yeah, there are walks and there are walks, and those are the kind that frustrate you as a pitcher, because you had 0-2 on Richie Sexton. And give Sexton some credit. He almost looked a little like Frank Thomas. I mean, Frank Thomas, for a big guy, always had great discipline. And usually guys that are home run hitters, 6'8", you can get them to wave at a pitch. But he took a lot of close pitches in that at-bat and earned the walk.
Here's Raul Ibanez, and the pitch is inside, 1-0. 2-2 game, top of the third. Put something off that pitch. Ibanez way out in front. Chop towards second. Cano to Martinez, and that'll do it. Fairly easy inning for Chien-Ming Wang. No runs, no hits, one walk, no errors, and one man left.
Here's Jargon. What is a basket case? Baltimore chop, game of pepper, can of corn.
It's on deck. Inside baseball and outside the game. Premiering Sunday, May 22nd, only on Yes.
License away.
Top of the fourth inning. It's time for the Aflac trivia question. The Duck brings in the question, and the question is: since 1976, who holds the record for consecutive multi-hit games by a visitor at Yankee Stadium? We'll get that answer in the bottom of the fourth. Brett Boone leads off, and Wong, now with a 5-run lead, deals a strike.
I guess you'd start with George Brett or maybe Wade Boggs.
Boone in a 1-for-16 slide as he's looking for one RBI for career number 1,000. So how does the kid handle a lead? Sometimes veterans have a difficult time handling the lead. He's got a 5-run lead right now. It'll be Boone, Reed, and Olivo. 6, 7, and 8 for Seattle. Popped up, shallow left. Jeter on the run. He'll make the play. One away. Jason Giambi, who met with Joe Torre and Brian Cashman before the game, is on the bench watching this one. He has been struggling of late. An 0-for-15 slide. And the meeting that the Yankees wanted to have with Giambi, we find out, they kind of wanted to be quiet. And Giambi said, oh, by the way, to all the media, I'm meeting with Brian and Joe today. That's why people like Jason. Is kind of innocent. Says what comes into his head. Reed, ground ball to second. Cano, 2 away.
Well, this is nice to see. I know it's got to please Joe Torre and Mel Stottlemyre. As you mentioned, pitching with a lead. We saw how Jarrett Wright struggled with it earlier this year with a huge lead. And one of the ways you do games like this, you get a 5-run spot. Boy, you want to go out in that next inning and just throw strikes and get that visiting team out of there as quickly as possible and get your team back in the dugout.
Pitch to Olivo.
You know, Jim, it's called momentum.
Yeah.
You know, once you gain the momentum, you don't want to go out there and then give a couple runs back. You want to keep it going, get your team back in there hitting.
I used to kid with Brian Downing, who caught for me in Chicago. It was Brian's first year as a catcher, and if you had a inning like this, as you were running out on the field, I'd say 6 pitches. Let's see if we can get them out in 6 pitches. It didn't always happen, but you want to have that kind of mentality.
Olivo grounded to short in his first at bat in the second inning. .30. There's a strike.
And you know, we always talk about this baseball being a game of adjustments. Well, the Yankees are telling Miguel Olivo, we're going to pitch you hard in until you prove to us that you can handle this pitch. And now he needs to make the adjustment and start looking in.
That one's popped up, shallow right center. Cano will put it away for the final out of a 1-2-3 inning for Chien-Ming Wang. So after a big Yankee inning, he comes back and retires the side in order. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Be kidding me. Chevy scoreboard, Yankees 7, Seattle 2, top of the 5th inning. Does that make any sense?
But you know what, there's something to be said for not having to look over your shoulder, you know, and have the pressure of somebody if you don't go 0 for 4. I was listening to Keith Hernandez earlier today on the radio, and the year he hit 340 something, almost 100 points higher than the previous year, was because the manager had come to him and said, you know what, I'm going to live and die with you. You're my first baseman. He said as soon as the manager said that to him, he just took off. And you know, you never know. Brian Roberts, he really worked out hard this offseason, and things are definitely working out for him.
Nice play by Tino, taking base hit away from Valdez, one away, and the player that was looking over his shoulder, Jerry Hairston Jr., was traded to the Cubs in the Sammy Sosa deal.
Yeah, I think if this were last year, I mean, there'd all of a sudden be rumblings about what's Brian Roberts taking, right? But he made it very clear in the offseason, you know, some of the supplements that he's on and working out in a legitimate fashion. And he's, you know, he's just developed into it. He always had the good fundamental skills. Now he's got a little more strength to go with it. He's in a nice ballpark to hit home runs.
And, you know, why can't he improve? You know, I mean, every year you like to think that you're getting a little bit better, you know, but, right, no one expected this home run.
He's also a little bit of a guy.
Yeah, but, I mean, you work out, you have a little strength. Brett Boone's not particularly tall.
True.
But, you know, he can hit the long ball. Ichiro can hit the long ball, and he's smaller than both of them. He just doesn't try to hit the long ball.
Ichiro started the game with a triple, came around to score on Randy Wynn's ground ball, the 2-0. There's a ground ball at Cano. 2-away. And it is now 6 in a row for Chien-Ming Wang. Every time a Yankee pitcher strikes out an opposing batter, the Tri-State Hyundai dealers help strike out kids' cancer by making a donation to the Hope and Heroes Children's Cancer Fund in the Morgan Stanley Children's Hospital of New York. If you would like to contribute along with the Tri-State Hyundai dealers, call 212-305-3155 and let's strike out children's cancer. There's Randy Wynn, and there's a strike. Wynn came over to the Mariners in a rare deal. He was traded for Lou Piniella. Lou wanted out of Seattle. Seattle wanted something for Lou because they still had a year left on his contract. And they wanted Jose Reyes from the Mets. Mets said no. They wanted Randy Wynn from the Devil Rays, and the Devil Rays, always happy to shed some payroll, said sure.
Don't see many managers traded for players. I was thinking of my ex-manager, Chuck Tanner, I believe, was traded for Manny Sanguillen.
Yep.
And he went from Pittsburgh to Oakland, or vice versa.
The 1-2. You wonder if Lou could have a do-over if he would have stayed in Seattle.
Right, and we've been talking tonight, and David mentioned how the Mariners are willing to go out and spend some money, and that was one of the things I think that soured Lou on staying in Seattle, is they were so close, and instead of making that extra step, they actually pulled back.
1-2. Skips rope. 2-2. Deuces Wild up on the scoreboard. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Number 2 at the plate. Randy Wynn. And the pitch. Swung on and missed. Flaherty drops the ball. Will flip to Tito Martinez. So it's a strikeout, put out 2-3. And Wong has retired 7 in a row. 1-2-3 at the end of 4 1/2. We're halfway through. Yankees 7, Mariners 2.
This is the Civic Value Package from Honda. And this is a gallon of regular
throw a ground ball. I'm getting a little tired, but these guys been running sprints like Carl Lewis out there.
7-2 Yankees lead as we head to the top of the 6th inning. It'll be Beltre, Sexton, and Ibanez against Chien-Ming Wang, who's looking for his first big league victory. Driven the other way. And that's a foul ball. Not much room out there, so if it goes foul, Gary's chasing it down like it's a fair ball, but he turns and sees nobody's moving, so he gives out a souvenir.
Yeah, I think one of the advantages. See, now look at Beltre. He's pretty much in a static position. And he does hit this ball sharply, but late. And I think that motion of Chien-Ming Wang does not give the hitter. You know, Brooks Robinson told me years ago, because I used a rather quick motion, he said, you know, I use the pitcher's motion as a timing device. When he gets into the windup, I start going. And Wang almost freezes the hitter. There again, he's late. Because, you know, hitters like to, most of the time you'll see him a little hip action or striding, and as they see him go into that motion, they're just stock still in the batter's box. And then with that little sneaky fastball, it just works to his advantage.
Grounded to A-Rod, and he boots it. E5.
As you see right here, the ball just hits the heel of the glove. And pretty simple, just didn't get the glove in position to make the play.
Here's Richie Sexson. He's walked twice against Wang. And there's a strike.
Looking back on that play, I think, you know, Alex still in the adjustment period of playing third base, and I think earlier this year he got caught backpedaling on a couple of balls that he wished he would have charged. That one he charged, and he probably wished he would have just waited an extra second or so.
Driven to right field and deep, going back Sheffield. He might the play right in front of the wall for the first out of the inning. So Sexton gave it a ride, but Sheffield right there.
Outfielders, clubhouse guys have to scrape the paint off the outfielders' uniforms tonight when they get in. They've been driving, both teams have been driving them back there.
You know, sometimes, Jim, in games like this, when you feel like you're going to win, sometimes you got to challenge yourself to really keep that focus. You know, if this is a 2-2 game, Alex Rodriguez makes that play.
Deep drive to left center. Matsui back on his horse. He'll make the play in Death Valley for the second out of the inning as Beltre will head back to first. Good jump there by Matsui.
Example of an outfielder getting a good jump on the ball. You know, not blessed with the speed that his countryman does, Ichiro, but he can really track the ball. I just think he's a terrific center fielder, which was his natural position in Japan.
And here's Brett Boone.
David referred to the fact that it wasn't a close game, which, you know, for a player is no excuse, but that's what always impressed me about watching Pete Rose day after day. I don't care if it was 10-0 or 1-1. I mean, he was just so focused on the play. He never gave it away, and at batter never gave away the opposition an out.
Humpback line drive up the middle. And Jeter will flip the Cano, but not in time as Beltre beats the throw. That was Jeter's only play. So a base hit for Boone.
Well, that was shades of Derek's throw against Oakland when he flipped it to Posada. That's the only shot he had, that little backhand toss right there.
And because all his momentum was going to a right field, it's pretty tough for him to get a lot on this ball. See, that's tremendous range. But see, with all that momentum going to a right field, you can't really put a lot on the throw. And Beltre, as you see, getting down there pretty quickly.
So Mel wants to stress to Wong, you know, got to be careful. You have a 7-2 lead, but Reed hits the ball out. It's 7-5, so he came out quickly. And here's a flip play that Jim Cott was talking about. Throw by Shane Spencer over Tino Martinez, the cutout man, and Jeter cut it off, and the backhand flip to get Jeremy Giambi. And when asked about it after the game, Jeter said, we practiced that in spring training. He said, everybody's got places to be on certain throws, and that's where I'm supposed to be.
If he says so.
Well, when Jason Giambi signed with the Yankees and he reported to spring training, he excitedly said, I can't wait for that drill to see why Derek's where he's supposed to be.
They're still looking for it?
Count 1-2.
But you know what was so great about that play is having the presence of mind to really be watching everything unfold and seeing that Shane's throw is going to be too high and it's not going to have enough oomph to get to home plate. I'm going to go in that area just in case I'm needed. Because really, there was no reason for him to be there. But I'm glad he was there, as I was on that team as well.
And that was a 1-0 game at the time, so it was a gigantic play. Wong, 92 pitches, 51 strikes. Not a great ratio. The 2-2. He struck him out. Foul tipped and held on to by Flaherty. So Wong, with 2 runs in 6 innings, another quality start for a Yankee starter. No runs a hit, 1 error and 2 left. We go to the bottom of the 6th.
Right now we have to.
Well, here's a look at tomorrow's starting pitchers, brought to you by Verizon Online DSL, now twice as fast as before. We're supposed to give you the miles per hour of these guys. Carl Pavano's about 88, 89. Jamie Moyer, what, 82, 83? He
stays down there. He drives a lot in school zones. He stays down there. But he wins.
Olivo, first pitch ground ball to A-Rod, 1 away.
In fact, it'll be interesting tomorrow to compare. I think we'll get a chance to look at Jamie Moyer just past Randy Johnson as the all-time winningest Mariner lefty. And when you look at the effectiveness of pitchers, he doesn't have the strikeouts to go along, obviously, with Randy. But when you look at the winning percentage and base runners allowed, batting average allowed, boy, he's gotten a lot out of his talent.
IO Digital Cable Scoreboard has the Yankees leading the Mariners 7-2 here in the top of the 7th. And the 0-1.
Jamie Moyer is a great example of how so many more athletes, and particularly in baseball with pitchers, you see Sturtz and Buddy Groom getting ready as Wong reaches that magical 100 pitch mark, and Probably come out of the ball game soon. You know, in his 40s, he works out so hard, keep himself in shape. And that used to be the exception. Now it's becoming the norm.
See so many more pitchers effective in their 40s because they're all better workout regimens. And just look at Roger Clemens.
Yeah.
Yankees have a couple of 40-year-olds on their staff, Kevin Brown and Randy Johnson. Roger beat the Marlins last night 2-1. Ground ball up the middle. Cano, off-balance throw.
Man. I mean, that's the way he looked in spring. Or the first game I did in spring training, I said, where did this guy come from? I mean, he is silky.
Well, you see right here, I mean, he has tremendous range. He's here because of his defense, but he makes a tough play look very easy. He comes and get it. You throw it across your body. An accurate throw to Tino. And he swung the bat actually well tonight as well. So
yeah, he's had 3 good at-bats.
Ichiro serves one to left field. Womack is there. And how about that? A nice easy inning for Chien-Ming Wang, who has thrown 100 pitches and 7 pitches in that 7th inning. Mariners go down 1-2-3 at the end of 6.5. Get up and stretch. Yankees 7 and Seattle 2. And while you're standing, remain so as we honor America here at Yankee Stadium by listening to the voice of Yankee Stadium for the past 55 years, Mr. Bob Shepard.
As we remember the servicemen and women who are stationed around the globe, and also remember those who have lost their lives defending our freedom and our way of life. Now, please join in with Roman Tyner's rendition of God Bless America. God bless America.
Surprisingly, the Yankees are letting Chien-Ming Wang start the 8th inning. He's had 100 pitches, and he's leading 7-2. Nice stretch of games where the Yankee bullpen getting a little bit of a breather as Wynn fouls off the first pitch.
Yeah, and it's good to see. Last night in that tight one, we got to see Joe let Randy Johnson decide it for himself. Tom Gordon getting ready. You know, there's in a pitcher's career in the long run, it'll help you out if you learn how to finish off a game. You know, instead of getting in that habit of, well, I've gone 7, let me leave it to the bullpen. I remember talking with the great Warren Spahn, who used to talk about, he said, you got to learn to become your own relief pitcher. In other words, you got to lead after 6, and you've seen these guys 3-4 times, or they've seen you. Now, you got to figure out a way to finish off that game, and it isn't done as much anymore because of the specialization of the game and relief pitching, but every now and then it can help out.
Slow roller to second base. Cano, Tino. 1 away here in the 8th inning. Hey fans, get a second chance to see the latest game with WB Mason presents Yankees Encore. It's only on Yes. Tune in every night or the next morning at 9 for the big hits and great plays another time around. Tomorrow afternoon, by the way, the Yankees play a day game against the Mariners, and you can catch it again tomorrow night at 7 with WB Mason presents Yankees Encore. It's only on Yes. Adrian Beltre against Wong, and there's a strike, and he seems much more comfortable as the innings have moved along. Throwing strikes, first couple of innings he labored, but now he's dealing.
Well, 16 of the first 26 pitches he threw were out of the strike zone. And now each first pitch, he's throwing more first pitch strikes. And his ratio has gone up to not quite 60%, but after that slow start it has been, a percentage of strikes.
I'll tell you the one thing I really like about him, and he's been doing it the whole game, is he's not afraid to throw in.
No.
I mean, it looks like he can really locate that two-seam fastball inside. And he doesn't miss out over the middle of the plate. He gets it in there.
The 1-2. Low and away, and the count 2-2.
When you can locate that fastball on the inside part of the plate, you become a much tougher pitcher.
See how the ratio's improved since the first inning.
Because once you get those hitters looking inside, then you throw that slider away. You just keep the fat part of the bat off the ball.
That time the fat part hit the ball and lines it into center field for a base hit for Beltre. 1-out single.
That's one too many fastballs inside. Right there.
Tom Gordon getting serious in the bullpen.
Down and in, yep. That's I know for you watching you play, David, and most, particularly left-hand hitters, but that ball down and in, it's pretty easy to drop the barrel on it.
A little stall tactic now with Flaherty and A-Rod going to talk with Wong.
And while they're talking, just to refer to what David mentioned, that's why it's so, there's a lot of talk about pitching inside. You got to pitch inside. You got to pitch inside. Joe's going to come out and get him. But if you throw inside early in the game and move hitters off the plate, you get them uncomfortable. And then you can own that outside corner late in the game.
Well, Chien-Ming Wang is going to get a nice ovation. And it's already starting because the crowd knows what Joe Torre's out there for. And if the Yankee bullpen does its job, he's going to get his first big league win. Listen to the ovation.